Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the meeting to prepare for the FISE 2025 fair. Today, we will discuss topics that are relevant to your participation and we're sure will be very useful. So please share these topics with the companies that will assemble your stands. My name is Ana Lucia Arango, Communications Coordinator for FISE. So let's look at the agenda. And we will cover the following topics. We'll have a general presentation of the fair, general information, business roundtables, communications issues, and logistics. And at the end, we'll have a Q&A session. So feel free to ask your questions in the chat box during the broadcast. We will compile and answer them at the very end. So now, let's begin with the greetings from our manager, Ana Cristina Rendon Escobar. Good morning. First, I would like to welcome you to the 11th FISE Fair that will be held from November 11th to 13th at Plaza Mayor, Medellin. We have 410 exhibitors here, representing all of the stages of the power supply chain. And you will have great opportunities here. This event is for you. And everybody has the time and willingness and energy, obviously, to participate in this fair and to promote business meetings, knowledge, and networking. As you know, all of the pavilions will be at the fair. In fact, we have integrated another pavilion into the conventions area to continue growing and maintaining our fair's excellence, attractiveness, and appeal to all suppliers and those interested in serving the Latin American market. And of course, all of these companies in the power sector in South America and the Caribbean. As always, our comprehensive service includes, of course, a trade show and technical talks that are tailored to your needs. You define what you're going to present, but there are more than 200 technical talks where you can showcase your products and services. Differently, there are 2 business roundtables, one international, which is promoted by ProColombia, for Colombian producers, manufacturers, and service providers, and the other one that's national for Colombian and international exhibitors. And there are 410 exhibitors that can present their offerings to over 70 national buyers. Well, the Green Pavilion will have the Agora of Knowledge, and we'll have an excellent coffee bar where you can relax. And we'll have a special space with ongoing from AFIT. We will be promoting a special space for entrepreneurship. We will call this the Knowledge Agora Day, where entrepreneurs can present their products. And also at the end of the Green Pavilion, we'll have FISE Skills area, which will showcase the practical skills of technicians and technologists in the sector. This is in partnership with an electricity sector company that's supporting us. So as you can see, we will have a series of knowledge and networking-focused activities so that you can meet new customers, strengthen your relationships with current ones, and seek out potential customers who can help you grow your business. So, thank you again, and welcome. Well, many thanks to Ana Cristina Rendon, manager of FISE, for her opening remarks. We now would like to invite Juliana Andrea Arango, Commercial and Customer Service Coordinator. Okay. Hello, everyone. It's great to greet you all here today, and we're very pleased to be with you here today. We'll be meeting at the FISE Fair less than 2 months. We want to share with you the expectations we have for this year and what we have been working on for many months. We really are convinced that this edition will be very successful thanks to your trust and support. So today we want to share with you that we have some new exhibiting companies. We also want to remind you that our main purpose is to provide a platform for networking, connections, and knowledge sharing for companies in the power sector. And that's why FISA Fair is an essential stage for achieving your commercial and market objectives. So, here I'd like to show you how we've evolved since our first edition in 2006. We started with 2,000 square meters at Plaza Mayor. By 2023, we had 23,000 square meters. And for the last couple of editions, our goal was to have a new pavilion, which is the convention center with the trade show. And this year, we achieved that goal. In fact, all of the spaces are already filled. We no longer have any free spaces. And as I told you in an email a few days ago, this is also thanks to your participation. So by 2025, we hope to have Plaza Mayor with its different pavilions full with the commercial exhibition. We started in 2006 with 78 exhibitors, and this year, in the last edition, we had 355 companies. But this year, now we have 412 companies participating from nearly 27 countries. We had interesting technical talks initially, but they have also evolved a bit because we know that the topic of knowledge is very important to you. This year, we will have more than 180 spaces available for you to reserve. We will talk about that later. But the possibility of reserving them is already open. So there has been clear growth from the first edition to what we will have this year. And we're working to make the experience of the exhibitor and the visitor to be equally rewarding. I like this picture because it shows what we are at the FISA Fair, the different activities that we are going to have and that we think about and design throughout the year. We're going to have a trade show with more than 410 exhibitors, and as I was saying, there are about 27 to 30 countries participating in the exhibition. There are some very important delegations. Brazil is joining us with about 40 companies. Turkey is coming with 35 organizations. There's an interesting Spanish delegation and another from Asia. So let's say that we've established ourselves as an interesting space for doing business in the electrical sector and connecting with demand. We expect more than 28,000 visitors during the 3 days of the fair. We also have a knowledge theme that always joins us in each of the events we hold. We have an academic event this year, and the central theme is storage, which we know is a trending topic and of interest to many of you. There's also a way to link commercially to this academic event if you want to complement what we already have at the trade show with brand positioning. We expect 250 attendees at this event, which will take place November 12 and 13. And this year, we're doing it in partnership with the World Energy Council and SED Colombia. These are our partners in the event this year, so you are welcome to get involved commercially or to have your technicians and professionals join us because it's really a packed agenda that you can already find on our website. The technical talks by exhibitors are given by you. 2 networking spaces are very strong and very relevant at the fair. A FISE Business Roundtable, organized directly by the FISE organization for you. And all the suppliers here can participate in this roundtable. All 412 companies are invited to participate. Right now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the schedule. And we also have an international business roundtable that we have strategically allied with ProColombia and the Mayor's Office of Medellin, which is aimed at Colombian companies that are manufacturers or exporters of services. We also have some experience in the Green Pavilion. We will have co-working spaces both in the Green Pavilion and at conventions in the New Pavilion. Together with Ongoing, we will hold entrepreneurship workshops in partnership with UPB, which has been our ally for many years. We will have the knowledge agras in the green and blue pavilions. These are knowledge spaces, so all of you or the visitors can attend. We're talking about talks about the trends, and we have the FISE metering skills with HEICO. These are competitions to develop and highlight the activities of the country's technicians, technologists, and professionals. These are on site competitions that take place during the 3 days of the fair in the Green Pavilion. So, of all of the activities and what we're showing you, everyone is welcome to participate. So, the International Business Roundtable, as I was saying, is organized with ProColombia and backed by the mayor's office. It's aimed at exhibitors who are manufacturers in Colombia or domestic service providers who have some experience in exports. We expect to have around 60 international buyers, and there is financial support for tickets for those international buyers. So if you're already registered in the roundtable and been approved by ProColombia, because supplier buyers are directly approved by ProColombia, not by FISE. So if there's an international buyer that you think should come to the fair and you've been wanting to contact them for a while, write to us now. We'll give you contact details. And with ProColombia, we will take care of finding that buyer, inviting them to the fair. You're all welcome to the FISA Business Roundtable. We have more than 100 domestic buyers meeting with you, and the same applies. Places are limited, but there is a budget to purchase tickets for national buyers. If there's a buyer that you want us to involve, to invite, to meet you with you, they're also welcome. And we will, of course, make the necessary arrangements for them to join us. So we have a very interesting space in the Green Pavilion. Those who have been with us in previous editions know that the Green Pavilion has always been slightly different from the rest of the pavilions, because we want to offer disruptive activities that take visitors away from the commercial exhibition for a moment and introduce them to other formats. So what we're going to have is a knowledge agora in this pavilion. We will have high quality speakers talking about different topics. In a few days, we'll share with you the first agenda. These spaces are free for everyone to access. We'll have a co-working space open to everyone, visitors and exhibitors. So if anyone has an appointment they want to attend, but their stand is very busy, as it will be, then you go to the co-working space and sit there. It's an open space, so let's say it's also subject to availability. We will have a Coffee 360, as we call it, where you can buy all kinds of drinks and snacks. It will be beautifully decorated where you can go, sit, have a drink, and disconnect a little from the fair. So here you can see the render. It's not a reference image, but we do want you to see that there are different and beautiful spaces that are kind of in the center. Right now, let me show the floor plan, but they're kind of in the center of the Green Pavilion. FISE metering skills is done with HEICO, and the aim of this activity is to recognize and reward technicians, technologists, and professionals. These are activities or competitions that take place on site during the 3 days, and on Thursday, we have judges throughout the day, and at the end, they will decide who the winners will be. There's also an award ceremony. This space is available for sponsorship. If anyone wants to have their brand there, we can look into it. It's a very interesting space because, as I said, what we're looking to do is highlight these activities of all these people who help us and contribute so much to the growth of the sector. We're going to hold an academic event with WEC in State Columbia, November 12th and 13th. So we do have national, international experts and panelists. Here is the Congress website where you can find more information. As I mentioned, you can sponsor and complement the event with brand positioning. And these are really high-level talks. Please remember that the trade show is free for visitors. This event does have a cost, but it's not very high, precisely so that everyone can attend. And you can find on the website all of the information. There are membership rates that you can access as exhibitors at the fair. This is an interesting topic, and I know you like it a lot. And we will once again have the VIP room. This is a space that we designed for you. This space will be located in the Red Pavilion. It's a space for your executives to attend, connect to the internet, have a drink, and eat a snack. It's available for the 3 days. Obviously, also subject to the availability of the room on site, depending on the number of attendees. But it is a very interesting room. How will it work? I will send you the instructions in about 2 weeks because it can only be accessed with stickers that we will put on each exhibitor. 2 people can attend. The sponsors of the fair in white and gold, and in the rest of the pavilions, we will have 3 entrances. And these entrances will be located directly at the VIP room. There will be a person in charge of registration who will be handing out the stickers. So it's very important that the people you want to have these stickers go first, ask for them, or that one of you go and ask for the stickers so we can put them on because they are limited. So let's say the invitation is for you to decide in advance who are the 2 or 3 people who should access the VIP room. Okay? It's a very cool and pleasant space. It has worked very well for us, and it's a space that we want to share with you from the organization. We're also going to have, as I mentioned before, the convention co-working space. We're going to create, I will show you the floor plan now, but this year, for the first time, we are going to have spaces where visitors can sit and work or have a private meeting, which we before never had at the fair. This is the exhibition floor plan. We are already full. Everything you see in color is occupied. We don't have any spaces available for exhibitions at this time. We will have the Inter-American Plaza with a very interesting trade show in the white and gold pavilion of our sponsors. And in the rest of the pavilions, there are companies that have always been with us and others that are coming to join us here. So this is the exhibition plan. Here is the convention. And I would like to remind you a little. I say remind you because we've told you through different means that this year at conventions, all of the visitors arriving at the fair for the first time register and receive their badge and enter through conventions. In other words, it's at a second level. We go down escalators and arrive at this conventions pavilion, which will also be connected to the academic event with the opening of the fair and spaces of technical talks. So people entering for the first time arrive at this pavilion and they go up to the plaza and begin their tour of the exhibitions of the white pavilion. After entering for the first time, once you have your badge, you can enter here again, or you can enter through the Inter-American Plaza, through the 2 entrances that we've always had. So that's how the tour will work. In a few days, I think we will also publish this so that visitors can get an idea of what the new commercial exhibition tour will be like. So this topic is extremely important because registration is now open. This is something we also work on with our partners, and we know is extremely important to you because it complements the interaction you hope to have with your target audience. So, all Colombian companies, manufacturers, or service providers can register for the Business Roundtable. Here is a link. I will leave you the contact details below in case you don't have them. You can register. ProColombia validates the profile of the offering company, which is only for exhibitors of the fair. In short, anyone who's not associated to the fair does not have access to either of the two rounds. So ProColombia validates the profile, accepted or rejected. So what happens? Once you register, you can stay on the platform, and October 1st, you can start scheduling appointments. Yesterday, I was reviewing the list, and honestly, several of the companies that are here are yet to register. So I invite you to review the information requested there. Register because having one on one appointments with high level buyers from Latin America is a benefit worth taking advantage of. So, we have the International Business Roundtable and the National Business Roundtable, which, as I just mentioned, is also open to all of you. Scheduling is also available. If you don't have the link to register, I'll send you the contact here, the contact information, and share it with you. So, what will happen? Until November 3, you can register for both business roundtables. What happens with that registration? The longer we wait to register, the fewer appointments we will find with buyers since the platform fills up with the appointments that are scheduled. So we invite you to do so as soon as possible. We will have appointment scheduling, which means that you will be able to see which buyer you want to meet with. Request an appointment based on their availability and vice versa. Buyers from both business roundtables can view your profile and request an appointment. So it's important to log into the platform regularly so you can accept or reject those meetings requests. So we will have the FISE Business Roundtable scheduling, which is already open as of this week. Companies that are already registered in the National Business Roundtable can log in, see the buyers. But in the International Business Roundtable, scheduling of the appointments is from October 1st to November 5th. So we have about a month and a few days to make those appointments. Where and when are the business roundtables? Look, the FISA National Business Roundtable, where we're all invited to participate, will be held November 12th and 13th in exhibition halls A and B. This connects to the red pavilion on the first level. So it's on the first level of exposiciones, November 12 and 13, from 10:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. Then International Business Roundtable is November 11 and 12 in the mezzanine. Last year, we changed to a business roundtable. That is, if some of you remember, international buyers went to your stands, but this year, we're returning to the traditional format. Buyers will be seated at assigned tables in the mezzanine. So you take your agenda to the table, sit down, and ProColombia staff will assist you with everything. And the venue is, of course, within the fairgrounds at Plaza Mayor Medellín. Here are the contacts for Business Roundtable Matters. Jacqueline Osa and Gloria Heredia are in charge of organizing the FISA National Business Roundtable. And here is the email address of Daniela Zuleta, who is the ProColombia advisor helping us with everything related to the International Business Roundtable. So that's what I wanted to tell you about. Once again, thank you so much for participating. I can't wait to see you in November because we're going to have a huge and wonderful fair with activities and offerings that I'm sure you're going to love and that will help you achieve your business goals. So see you in less than 2 months? Thank you, Juliana. Okay. I think we've already answered two questions in advance that you asked about registering for the business roundtables as suppliers. We posted the link in the chat during the broadcast. As you know, this is a benefit not only for exhibitors and is subject to approval. I mentioned this because this broadcast is public. So now I'm going to talk to you about some topics related to communications. At FISE, we try to reach as many media outlets as possible to provide you with all the relevant information for your participation. We're currently intensifying our communication via WhatsApp through mass messages that I believe you've been receiving. These communications also include phone calls, and we invite you to please add as a secure email address, fise@fise.co, as this is where all mass emails to you are sent from. We also have channels on WhatsApp and Telegram. We invite you to join us. We've been constantly sending you a link to join that channel as soon as you finish filling out your reservation form. So we try to use many channels so you don't miss any important information for your participation. Okay? As exhibitors, when you finish filling out the reservation form, which this year has been very thorough, that is, of 400 exhibitors, I believe only 2 companies have incomplete reservations. They haven't finished it, but the rest have been very aware and have already completed it. You can see on this website, in the section that says FISE 2025 Fair, Exhibitor Inquiry. And there you can see a list of exhibitors if you want to see the information that's in the public domain. All visitors to the website can see it as well. And there you can see the information. When you click on the name of the company, you can see in which stand they are, the contact details you provided that are a public domain, the products or services they will be exhibiting, and the brands. So this is visible both on the website and in the FISE mobile app, which I will tell you a bit about later. I saw a question in the chat, so I'll give you a little preview, and if you still have questions, I'll answer them at the end. The registration of the stand staff. We will send you information to do this. You create a password, so for 2 contacts. You know that when you filled out the reservation form, you entered contact 1 and 2, who are the people in charge of all participation in the FISE Fair. It's important, and I'd like to make a point here, that if either of those 2 contacts has changed, is no longer there, has changed position, resigned, or any other change, you must inform us. You must inform us of the other person who remains or someone else from the commercial area. If it's neither of the 2, you must write an email saying that this person has changed. This is the information of the new person. Why? So we can continue sending valuable information to the right people, that is, your contacts. Next week, as I mentioned, we will send contact 1, the information to Access Eventia, which is where you can register the staff for the booth. And we will send this so that you can start adding all these people. 1 badge is provided for every 3 square meters you have purchased at the fair. However, we always give a bit more because we understand that you need to rotate staff over the 3 days of the fair. So when you receive the link, you will see a section that says log in. Enter your username and password. And when you log in, you will see this green circle, how many exhibitor badges are available for you to fill out. Here you click on the pencil icon and enter the information we request. There is important information here. A little while ago, I sent the registration form for international suppliers and the registration form for national suppliers. If any of your company's employees register for one of these 2 rounds, that registration gives them access as stand staff. In other words, they don't need to register again in this space. Just by registering as an offerer for either of the 2 rounds, they already have access as if they were staff of the stand. Okay? Every year, we share a piece with you that you send to your databases and your clients so that they can attend the FISE Fair, because this is a joint effort. Obviously, we do a lot of publicity in the media and social networks and so on. But every year, we make everything easier for you to invite your customers and your databases to accompany you at your stand and, of course, to all of the activities that we have at the fair. So that digital invitation that we share with you and that effort that you make, which we greatly appreciate every year, every edition, will be rewarded this year. So, I can also tell you that next week we'll be sharing that invitation with you with a code that you can use to invite your databases, and we will reward 2 exhibitors at this year's FISE Fair that achieve the highest number of registrations and attendees. Let me explain. We send an invitation with the code FISE 2025. I send it to my database and achieve. At a minimum, there are some asterisks that I will share with you later in terms of conditions. Next week, I'll send you everything, but it's a minimum of 200 people. So I send the invitation, 200 people from my company register and attend the fair over the 3 days. That is, with the registration attendance at the fair, we will verify that. And subsequently, the first and second place companies that bring the most people to the fair will be rewarded. What will be the reward? $15 million for the first place and $13 million for second place, redeemable for a stand at the next edition of the fair, that is, for 2027. This is more or less a preview of what we are announcing, and as I said, next week we will give you much more details. But this is to get you excited and thinking about what strategy you can implement to get your customers to go to the fair, register, and actually attend the fair. So that's a very good incentive because it's a significant amount of money. We're talking about $15 million for first place, $13 million for second place, redeemable for a stand at the next edition. No cash will be given. If the company decides not to participate in the fair for any reason, no cash will be given either. But next week, you will be able to see all those details on the website. So get excited. We're also receiving inquiries regarding technical presentations. I believe you received an email 2 weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken, saying, "You are now an exhibitor. Welcome to the exhibitor module." So in that exhibitor module, once you have completed the reservation form, you can reserve the technical talks, create the technical talk, request it, and create the users who will scan the badges at the fair, right? To scan these QR codes that appear on the attendees' badges. So, with that username and password, you must log into the exhibitor module on the website, FISE.co, which says Portal FISE on the upper right corner. Then click on Exhibitor Module and enter your username and password. What does the email we sent to you to access the module look like? It looks like this. In other words, it's an email with the subject says FISE 2025 Fair Access to Exhibitor Module. So please check your spam folder. It may have ended up there. The email says, You are now an exhibitor at the FISE 2025 fair. It shows the company name, the direct link to the exhibitor module. You use your name, which is your email address, and your password. So, what are we going to do there? Once you have logged in, you will see this space. At the top, you will see technical talks, and here you can create or request your technical talk. Remember that each exhibitor is entitled to reserve one technical talk per company, except sponsors, who, depending on the case, will be entitled to 2 or 3 slots to give technical talks. So then you click on Create Talk button, click on Select Space, and then on Search. I recommend not entering the date in the box where it says date, but rather click on Search, and automatically you'll see the available slots. What's in red is obviously already taken, and green is available. We have technical talks on all 3 days of the fair in different rooms. You can check which one suits you best, and each room name also indicates its capacity. For example, here you see commissions 1 and 2 are for 25 people. There are other rooms for 150 people. I don't know if they're still available, but we also have rooms for 150 people. So select the green button, and the system will ask you for some information about that talk. What do I recommend? If today, September 18th, you say, I don't know who's going to give the talk. To be honest, I don't know if this is the topic or if this is the speaker. Don't let that stop you from making the reservation. You will place to be confirmed in the name of the speaker, to be confirmed and the summary. And with that, we will verify in logistics, look, this company requested the space. We approve the space, and when you have the information, you can return to the speaker module and edit the information. This space is completely manageable by you. That is, if I reserve this space and put to be confirmed, because I don't have the information yet, as soon as logistics approves the talk, it will be visible to the public as to be confirmed. I think it's manageable. There's no problem while you gather the information for the talk. However, try to manage it promptly so it doesn't remain this way for too long. But from then on, it's your responsibility to enter the correct information so it's visible. In this section of the exhibitor module, we also have the App User Manager. Most of you may be familiar with it, but others may not know about it. So let me tell you, we have a mobile app that cannot be downloaded from cell phone stores. It's a web app where all visitors to the fair can see general information about the event, and you as exhibitors have a privileged space to collect data from the visitors to the fair so you can later do marketing work that will be very useful. So how do you create these users? You log into your exhibitor module, which I told you how to access, and in here that says App User Manager, you will click on New User. I'm sorry, this slide got mixed up. My apologies. This slide is not part of the presentation, but let me finish talking about the technical talks. When we approve them, the technical talks are visible on the website, here where it says FISE 2025 Fair Technical Talks. And this is visible to the entire public on the website and in the app. But wait, let me check this out. But as I was saying, this is where you create the users who will read the visitor badges with their cell phones. There, they click on new user, enter their name, email, and they're all set. They will then receive an email with their credentials. So now let's move on to this. How do you view the app? The FISE mobile app is at this address. They're going to place it on the chat. It's app15.fise.co. So you go through the browser, type in this URL that you're seeing. Automatically, if you are on Android, you will see add icon to your home screen as on your phone's desktop. And if you're on iPhone, there's an icon that you can press to add it as well. We are going to share with you a tutorial video on how to download the app and how to capture data. I'm going to quickly tell you about the options that the app has. They're going to show you the tutorial. I think that they have already done so. So when you look at the icon, it looks like an F. When you enter, you will see the event, which is FISE 2025 Fair, and you will see these sections, a general schedule of the timelines, the static maps of the fair. These are images, so people can get a rough idea of which pavilion they're in. A list of exhibitors that I showed you at the beginning here in the app. Here you can see under exhibitors, where it says academic event, you will find the schedule for the storage conference. Technical talks is where you find what I showed you earlier. When you approve the talk, it will appear there. Under restaurants, there are some recommendations that we are going to place about the restaurants that we have at the fair and some places of interest for the people, perhaps foreigners who do not know the city of Medellin. Okay? Here on the right-hand side, the bottom right-hand side, we see exclusive exhibitors. This is a space where you can scan the QR code information from the badges of all of the attendees. So, let's move on. When you click on exclusive exhibitor access, your contacts 1 and 2 will be logged in. They can log in with the same credentials as the exhibitor module. And the other people who are users you created separately with the email and password that was sent to them when they were created. Once you're logged in, you will see the space in the second image that says Add Visitor. When the person is at your stand, they come with their badges, strike up a conversation with them, and ask them to please allow you to take their QR data. So then with your cell phone, you can scan that QR code. It would look like the third image and will load the information as you see here. This is the information contained within the QR code. And later, when it synchronizes with the cloud, other data, such as the person's category, whether they're a buyer, a visitor, or an operator, or the person and the person's country. So to capture this data, you really don't need the internet because all the information from the QR codes is stored on your cell phone. But for the rest of the information to sync and to be uploaded to the cloud, your cell phone does need to be connected to data, Wi-Fi, or whatever you want to use at some point during the day. However, you don't need to have an internet connection here all day to capture the data. You only need it to synchronize the information that is uploaded to the cloud. When synchronization is performed, contacts 1 and 2 are displayed, as shown in this image on the right. You will see all the captures made by the staff who are performing this task at the stands. You will see how many total scans are there. There may be duplicates in the total scans because if Pedro and Maria are scanning and they're scanning the same person, it adds up. But in the unique scans, only one scan would count. This information can be downloaded in an Excel file after the fair so you can do your work. And let's say you want to download it daily. You can also do so, but I would recommend doing it when the fair is over. So here you can download the Excel file and then you can do your subsequent marketing work. Here I'll show you. It looks like this. Where it says Excel, it looks like this. As you can see this at the bottom. And that's it. That's all the information I have for you from communications. I can see several questions already. We will collect them and I will answer them all at the end. So I hope I've been clear. I will review the questions carefully and answer them at the end. And now I invite Carla Ochoa, Logistics Coordinator, who will talk to you about topics of interest. Good morning. I'm going to tell you about some aspects that you should take into account so your participation in the fair is successful and we don't have any setbacks and everything runs smoothly. First of all, I would like to tell you the logistics team is made up of Maria Taborda and myself. You can see our phone number and email address on the slide. And we also have a logistics operator called Santiago Puerta Logística en Producción, whose staff will be with us during the setup, event, and teardown to assist you, advise you, and let's say solve any needs that may arise and help us to keep the fair organized. The most important part of my presentation, what would be most useful to you, is that you take away the message to read the entire exhibitor's manual and share it with all the staff and the company that will be placing everything for you, because there's a lot of information that they need to know. On this slide, you can see where the link is, so you can always check for updates of the manual on the FISE website. In other words, don't download it, and look for the save file, because sometimes we have to make small adjustments to it. For example, we're currently on version 3, and although the adjustments are sometimes clarifications or additions to information, there may be some changes in the height allowed, for instance, in pavilions because of circumstances that force us to make changes. For instance, that we need to look at different changes. So it's important right now that we're only a month and a half from the fair, to review the updated manual. So let's move on the topic of height of stands. I'll give you a brief overview, but each should review your particular situation according to your location and type of affiliation. In the white pavilion, gold sponsors can go up to 6 meters, silver plus 2.7 meters, silver to 5 meters, and bronze sponsors to 4 meters. In the hall, if you're a bronze sponsor or exhibitor, the maximum height allowed is 4 meters, as long as your stand is outside the mezzanine, not underneath it. If you are underneath the mezzanine, the maximum height due to the ceiling, which is the limit, would be 3 meters. And if you are a gold sponsor and have a stand outside the mezzanine, you can go up to 5 meters. In the blue, yellow, and green pavilions, the paneling provided by the fair is 2.4 meters. If you're going to raise the height with materials and constructed walls, the maximum height you can raise in these blue, yellow, and green pavilions is 4 meters, subject to prior authorization, which you must request by writing to logistica@fise.co so we can assess the feasibility of what you're going to build and make important recommendations. The most significant and the one that you most need to help us is to see the extension of the wall above, anything above 240 to 4 meters must be covered at the back with a perfectly stretched top quality white canvas. It must be white and must be well installed. Why? Because the back of the wall that you extend, when it is the wall that adjoins your neighbors, will be visible from that stand, right? Whether it is behind or in front, if you have an adjoining neighbor, they will have a view of that wall from their stand. And if you cover it poorly, it will directly affect the aesthetics of your neighbor's stand. In the red pavilion, as there are ventilation ducts, the maximum height is 3.5 meters. So the same policy applies. The paneling is to 40 meters, which we install for you. But if you're going to raise it, it can be up to 3.5 meters because there are ducts there that do not allow a greater height. In the Cultural Plaza and Inter-American Plaza, the height is 5 meters. And in conventions, in the stands that we will have there, you can go up to 4 meters with prior authorization. As I was saying, send us your request with the project by email, the render with measurements clearly indicated so we can approve it, validating that the height is within the limits that we are indicating here, and that if you're going to do any construction, let's say very elaborate, it is secure. So that's why we must do the prior review and approval of all the stands that are going to be built above 240 meters. Concerning hanging items from the ceiling of the venue, this will only be permitted in the yellow and white pavilions, subject to prior authorization to validate their feasibility. And we must see if it's feasible to do it at the point where you are, if the ceiling structure allows it, and what special conditions exist at that point, or what considerations you need to take into account. Also, in case of the yellow pavilion, we will ask you for a deposit for each anchor point in a certain amount. Through this, we can guarantee that the assembly company, which is the company that have to dismantle those anchors in a timely manner, not leave them there hanging from the trusses and the structure of the venue. Because in that case, when those structures and the rigging devices with which you hang the moldings from the ceiling remain there, and Plaza Mayor has to pay for work at height and a lift to take down those elements, those cables from the ceiling, and they pass that cost on to us. So that's why we charge a deposit. I think several of you have done this in previous editions. And when those cables and elements are dismantled correctly, the day after the fair ends, a refund process takes place. So if anyone is in the white or yellow pavilion, they must, as I said, submit the project with a render indicating how many anchor points they are going to hang, how much the items weigh, and how much weight each anchor point will bear. Then we will forward this information to Plaza Mayor that will authorize everything that is hung from the ceiling, whether if it's feasible, if the ceiling can support it, if it's going to be well attached and the weight will be distributed. And once this process is complete, Let's say that once the technical feasibility of hanging the item has been established, we'll send you a link to after filling out a form with the information that we need, including your tax ID number and details, so we can receive the payment from the yellow pavilion, then make the appropriate refund. So we handle this through the email logistica@fise.co. If you're in another area, it's not possible to hang items in the venue. In other words, in the blue pavilions, the exhibitions or conventions, or the large conventions hall, nor is it possible in the red or green pavilions because the structure of the ceiling of the venue does not allow it, or because the ceiling is very high, like in the green pavilion. Other matters that may help you prepare for the fair are if you're going to hold social activities at your stand, due to the business nature of this fair, these activities cannot feature live or recorded music nor videos with audio unless they include background music, only people talking. Otherwise, the fair is liable to a financial penalty from authorities, psycho and ASIPRO, which would be passed on to the exhibitor who breaks the rule. Let me expand on this. Their trade fairs, due to their characteristics, make extensive use of recorded music, not live music, recorded music, and required because of the nature of their event. For example, Colombia Moda is a fair that has parties and several events that require music. However, due to the characteristics of the FISE fair, the type of activities we carry out there, and our objectives, the use of music is not essential. So it's really not essential for what we're going to do. Therefore, the fair does not pay psycho and ASIPRO for copyright or performance rights for live or recorded music. Consequently, the reproduction of music in the stands is not authorized, not even in videos. Videos should only be with people talking or images, but should not have music because much of this music is copyrighted, represented by ASIPRO, and ASIPRO sends a monitor, a person, who visits the entire venue and verifies if indeed we do not have music. And if they find a violation, an unauthorized use of music, they impose fines that amount to millions of pesos. So it's important for you as exhibitors to commit not using music at your stands due to the situation I've explained. You also cannot use amplification of sound like speakers or microphones because it interferes with the neighborhood stands. So if you're going to give a talk at your booth, you do it with a natural voice. Amplification is not allowed. When we deliver the stands to you, they include the white pavilion, hall, and outdoor areas, with the space delimited according to the sponsorship area, and the yellow, blue, green, and red and conventions pavilions. You are given the space and dividing panels, that is, walls that are made to separate your stand from those that you have next or behind you. And these are melamine walls, like a kind of wood. Each one is 1 meter wide and 40 meters high. That's the standard height of the fair. Each wall measures 1 meter, so several are placed in a row, joined with profiles. So, for example, if your stand is 4 times 3, you can have 2 L-shaped walls, one 4 meters long, 4 panels, another 3 meters long, 3 panels to form a wall for 3 or 4 meters long. In principle, by default, and to be efficient and practical, we only install walls when they are necessary to divide them, to separate them from one from an immediately adjacent stand. So if you're in a gallery and you have a stand on each side, you have the walls that divide you from those stands, and you have the back to support these two walls. And if you don't have an immediately adjacent neighbor, we don't install the paneling principle because you usually don't request that. Rather, you make some kind of decoration or construction yourself. However, if on site you see that according to these policies or alignments that I've explained, we're only placing a dividing wall between you and your neighbor when you share, for example, an island and you want the L because you want to close off one of the two sides, we will on site make the required installation of the walls you need according to your design. We also installed 1, 2, or 3 outlets in each stand, depending on each size. And each outlet, which is 110-volt outlet, has a capacity of 1 kilowatt. If you need 20 outlets or a higher capacity because you have a different electrical installation, please contact the authorized supplier, who's the only person who can do electrical installations at the fair. And his name is Edwin Prieto from Grupo Forte. Here you can see his contact information on the bottom right. You can write to him in advance and request different or additional installations or check with him if you need specifically something, and he will invoice you directly and you pay him directly for those additional services. If you require other services like food and beverages, internet, security, or gas, you must contract them directly with Plaza Mayor. The venue has exclusivity over food and beverages, so everything that enters the venue, excluding sealed water bottles and a few other items that they allow, such as small chocolate bars, popsicles, or popcorn, that are sealed and properly branded, which are items that the venue cannot provide. This includes coffee, snacks, drinks for cocktail parties you may be holding, alcoholic beverages. Everything must be contracted with Plaza Mayor directly. So please keep this in mind because the venue is strict about bringing in items from outside. Everything must be contracted directly with them by writing to Atención al Expositor at plazamayor.com.co. This also applies to internet services. If you require additional security beyond what's generally provided, you can also arrange this with Plaza Mayor by writing to Atención al Expositor at plazamayor.com.co. And here on this slide, you can make it easy for the venue to give you a quote, and then you can pay them and they will invoice you. This is still the topic I just explained. You can see it later. If you're going to request internet in particular, you need to specify very clearly what activity you need it for, how many and what type of equipment you're going to connect, broadband or dedicated, Wi-Fi or wired connection, the location of the stand. That is, all of these details so that Plaza Mayor can quote you the internet properly. So let's say the capacity of that internet, the speed, depending on how much you're going to use that internet, they will size it up and quote you, right? So that it's not neither too much or too little. We provide general internet for the exhibitors at the fair. And let's say that if you don't give the password to visitors, which is the premise and the instruction that it's only for exhibitors, it's a Wi-Fi coverage in all pavilions, allowing you to check your emails and use WhatsApp, right? Obviously, it depends on how we manage it because it's internet for everyone. Obviously, it's got good capacity, but there are many exhibitors. The necessary equipment is installed in each internet connection, so it works in each pavilion. But if it's used to download heavy files or upload videos or heavy material, or if the password is shared with visitors, then it won't be able to cope, right? Because let's say that the internet has this characteristic, as more people use it and use it for demanding purposes, it starts to be unable to cope with all of the demand, right? It starts to slow down. So, yes, the performance of the internet provided by the organizers depends on how you use it. Therefore, if you need the internet for the activities that you're going to have at your stand, and you need more powerful internet connection to do other things, then it's better to contract it directly with the venue. There is a link on this slide that refers to the assembly provider form. We have been doing this since last year for security reasons. And on this online Google form, the idea is to fill in the name of the company that will do the assembly, provide their tax ID number, and other details. And this will allow us to filter out certain companies that we have identified in the past as not fulfilling their commitments to the exhibitors who hire them, so that they don't slip through and scam you, right? Let's say that for legal reasons, we cannot openly give names, or point out individuals or entities and tell you not to hire this or that. But if we identify in this form a particular company we have seen that has failed to fulfill its commitments to exhibitors and left them in the lurch, if the stand is not well organized, we will try to warn you in time. So we ask all of you to please fill out this information as soon as possible because the fair is closed. And wait about 5 business days. And if we haven't contacted you, it's because there's no problem with the company you have chosen and indicated in that form. In other words, we don't know all of the assembly companies, and we cannot assure that you will not have any problems with any of them because there are many, right? Those in Bogota, Medellin, or from another city in Colombia. And we have no restrictions on which company can work with you, right? We have a list available on the FISE website in case you want to consult it, which is a list of companies that assemble that we have seen and know have worked well in previous editions. But you don't have to limit yourself to that list. You can use your trusted assembly supplier or research a new one and something that works for you. But yes, let's use this filter that we tried to help you so you won't fall in the hands of a scam by checking who they are, the name of the company, so we can try to identify that the particular company that we have is not a scam and won't slip in. So that's an issue that we try to help you with. Also, because when you fill out who your stand assembly company is, we can check at the entrance to the venue that a different company is not going to enter saying that it's going to work with you when it really may have intentions to steal. So for the good of everyone, we would be very grateful if you fill it out. It's only 3 questions, and you can indicate who your assembly company. We will also have a free trade zone service as in all editions of the fair. This service allows you to bring items to your stand from a country outside of Colombia, even if they have not been imported or nationalized. That is, you can bring them temporarily so you can display them, and if you sell them, you can then nationalize them, which is another process. But if you don't sell them, They return from the venue to their country of origin without having to go through the import process and all that it entails. So let's say it's a good service for exhibitors offered by the organization. If you have any questions about which customs agent to hire or how to bring the goods, Plaza Mayor offers advice to exhibitors as part of its services. You can contact Mr. Edward Herrera at edward.herrera@plazamayor.com.co. Here is his cell phone. So contact him if you're new to this process. And there is another service that the venue requires us to provide because it is a temporary free trade zone. Being a temporary free trade zone is a special procedure permit that the Ministry of Foreign Trade gives us for the fair during the days it lasts. So since it's declared a temporary free trade zone, everything that enters the venue, that area, has to be inventoried. This is a control measure that the tax authority has to place to prevent contraband from entering. So you must fill out a form on a platform. In previous editions, 2 or 3 editions ago, it was done very manually on a printed form. But now we have a platform in Plaza Mayor, so you can enter and fill out all the things that you're going to enter. It doesn't matter if they're domestic. It could be a table, a chair, everything. It's simply a matter of inventorying them. And based on that inventory, the venue has a control device at the entrance to fill it out because it's online on a specific Plaza Mayor platform. Plaza Mayor will contact you. We will request authorization for them to write to you and provide you with a username and password, that is your login credentials, and give you instructions how to and what to do. So that will happen in coming weeks. Well, to wrap up, I would like to inform you that all of the construction display elements for the stand must arrive at Plaza Mayor starting November 7th. Only after that date, we have storage facilities available. So, before November 7th, the event will not have any storage facilities. Plaza Mayor will not provide us any storage areas before the 7th, so try to have everything arrive at the venue on or after the 7th, and hopefully after the staff is already there to receive it and transport it from the door to the stand or the storage area. There are things that are brought in by transport companies, and as long as they arrive after the 7th, we can store them. And so when the transport company enters and unloads everything in the pavilion, it really depends on your stand. Unload the item, but you don't have to be there. The carrier arrives there and the driver enters. And once the item is unloaded in the pavilion storage area, because we do not have staff to move loads inside the venue, you must have either staff there, or if it arrives before you set up day, you must have a company to take it and place it where indicated by logistics staff, which will be the warehouse or the pavilion where you will be. So that's why you must mark the box very clearly addressed to Plaza Mayor with the address of Plaza Mayor on the boxes indicate very clearly it's for the piece of fair, because there are many events every week at this venue, so they don't get lost, and place there that it's going to go to this or that pavilion, and place your name, the company name. Mark each box very clearly, and if there are any problems, questions, or doubts when the box is received, the person responsible for it can be contacted. What else is important about this issue? If for any reason you need to send something from another city in Colombia that must arrive before the 7th, that is, because there are some items that obviously arrive earlier because they are international shipments that arrive to the free trade zone warehouses. In fact, once you have made the necessary arrangements with the Zona Franca and the free trade zone advisor, you need to pay for that storage in the free trade zone. And this is a process specific to items arriving from outside Colombia. But thanks, for example, let's say you're in Colombia but not in Medellin. If for whatever reason you're going to send something from Bogota, from another city like Cali, or because of your logistics, it's going to arrive before the 7th, there's a storage fee that Plaza Mayor charges. You can see the rates on the slide, but it's subject to availability because they have certain warehouses, but these are not unlimited. So you should also contact Edward Herrera, the same person of the free trade zone who manages all the Plaza Mayor warehouses, and he will tell you to make arrangements. Look, I am such person from such company. I'm going to have so many boxes that of this size, and they will arrive on this date, and I need to store them. So you can confirm with him if Plaza Mayor can store them before November 7th. And that's it. With that exception, and if you really need it, coordinate in advance with Plaza Mayor, you can make that shipment and pay for storage when you claim the boxes directly from Plaza Mayor. So that was the information. I am at your disposal for whatever you need, along with Mariana. We're at your disposal. Thank you, Carla. We will now proceed to answer the questions we have in the chat. Let's bring in Juliana and Carla, and I will proceed to read the questions first. For those who are going to give a technical presentation, when do we have to deliver our presentation and to who? Carla? What we provide you with is the room there at that time. For you arrive, for example, you've been assigned a slot from 4 to 5 p.m. on November 11th. You arrive there at 4 o'clock sharp, bring your presentation, and if it's a room that can hold 30 people, which are most, we will give you the space. There's a logistics person who will give you the space. There's a computer and a video beam. There's no sound because for 30 people, you simply speak out loud and you bring your presentation and download it onto the computer that we already installed and adapted to the video beam. We also suggest that you bring a backup laptop in case there is a problem with the equipment on site or the equipment fails. For any reason it's not working properly, you can connect your laptop directly to the video beam and operate it. So the rooms do not have internet. You can either use the shared internet from your phones to download to the computer in each room or bring it on a memory stick. Okay, next question is, exhibitors, can we process the badges for exhibitors and invited visitors to speed up the entry? No. Exhibitor registration is done by contact 1 and 2, but badges must be claimed in person. This is because we have seen over time that badges are being reprinted. For example, Claudia takes the badges for her team of 20 people. She enters the venue, takes care of her business, and does her thing, sets up, and Pedro arrives, who's in the database, and he says, but I haven't claimed my badge. No, but Claudia has it. But I don't have Claudia's cell phone, or she can't come out. So we see a percentage of badge reprints, which leads us to decide that badges should be delivered in person. And the same applies to visitors. Every visitor registers. I invite you to emphasize in your communications to visitors that they should pre-register because we will have self-accreditation stations, which are little machines that quickly issue the badges. They print the sticker, give them the badge, They put it on and they're out. But if we leave everything to be done at the fair, visitors will suddenly have to wait in long line, especially on the first day when there's a lot of people, and that won't speed things up. So if we do it in advance and claim the badges at the stations, that's great. In addition, you have a day before the fair starts, that is during setup. You can go to the registration booth because you have priority to claim those badges, so you can do it during setup. Next question. How many people can register per exhibiting company for the business roundtable? Juliana? Only one registration per company is allowed. What do we suggest? That there be one person who leads the scheduling of appointments with the different salespeople. If we have more than one salesperson in the company, so one person registers, has access to the platform, can see the buyers, and then shares them internally with their sales team. But it's only one registration. Once on site, we can have up to 2 people per company attending the appointments. What is the link to register exhibitors? Next week, you will receive an email, as I said in the presentation, a user and password to log into Eventia, where you can make these registrations. Next question. Can you share the link for the setup form? Perhaps you're referring to the suppliers. Jack, did we place that in the chat? It's in the presentation, but did we place it in the chat to register the suppliers? To check that it doesn't slip? Okay, it's in the chat. If you can place it again, please. Next, I have several questions. Will we have coffee at the stand to offer visitors, or are there any health sanitations? What are the setup and dismantling times? Well, let's start with the second question. The time to set up and dismantle is found in the exhibitor's manual. Again, read the manual from cover to cover because it has 25 pages, and I can't tell you everything here in a half hour. For example, it lists a series of documents that booth stand setup providers must bring to be allowed in. They must bring personal protective gear, boots, helmets, and clothing that meet certain requirements. Otherwise, they're not allowed in. In fact, we also indicated that if you're going to enter the assembly area to check what's happening or how the assembling is going, you must also wear clothing and shoes special. So there are a number of things specified in the manual, which again, you need to review. Regarding coffee, Plaza Mayor does not allow you to bring in coffee from outside. You have to contract with them. They may make exceptions if you explain to us via email at logistica@fise.co. You explain why you don't want it through Plaza Mayor, or if you're going to provide branded coffee using a machine. For example, in those cases, they may approve it. There are exceptions they make for things like this. It's the same exception that they make with popcorn or lollipops. So if you're going to enter things other than bottles of water, let us know in advance so we can check with the venue in case they have questions, suggestions, or required to be sealed. Because sometimes, strictly speaking, Plaza Mayor has the authority, and it's also a sanitation issue, that no food or beverages from outside vendors can go in. But let's say they try, because we've come from a history where they weren't so strict, they try to make exceptions because they're really open. They allow sealed water bottles. They tell us that only if they're branded, because otherwise, since the water bottle is branded, one can argue that since they're not going to brand it for you, they have no way of giving it to you branded. That's why you don't buy them from them. So it's important to do that. And with popsicles, popcorn, chocolates, cookies, anything that's sealed like a souvenir or edible merchandising. It can be done. It's better than, for example, if it's a lollipop or something open like popcorn or something, to send me the email and I'll validate it with Plaza. We don't want problems. But coffee, in principle, it's better to contract it with them if you have, for any reason, why you want to bring it, and you're using an automatic machine, write to me and I'll arrange it with Plaza to see how tolerant they are with that, because it also changes a bit with the administration. So we would have to check if you intend to bring in something like coffee from outside. And that's it. I mean, they don't allow any coffee, snacks, drinks, sodas to be brought in. You have to contract them with them, because even when they make exceptions, they charge a fee that's like 20% of what you brought in, with a series of requirements that have to be sealed. For instance, if you're going to bring in wine, it has to be sealed, and they charge 20% of the price of that bottle of wine on a price list that they have. It's like a floor fee. And if anyone has a proposal in that regard, arrange it in advance. I mean, at least 3 weeks before the event, so you can arrange it and they can respond to see to what extent an agreement can be reached with them, depending on the type of item that you're going to bring in. And if you're willing to pay the floor fee they request, what can you bring? Food for your staff. This food can be maximum of 10 units, because it's not to deliver to exhibitors, but only for staff. You can bring it in. You can make order deliveries from Rappi or ask a supplier to bring you 10 lunches, and that is authorized. Next question. Will you be using an app? Yes, it's a mobile app. It cannot be downloaded from the iOS or Android stores. In a moment, we will see the URL and also share with you the video tutorial so you can learn how to create users and scan. Next, are you going to explain how the business roundtable works? How do we schedule to share with the internal team? Juliana? I'm sorry, can you repeat that, Anna? I didn't understand it. Are you going to explain how the business roundtable works? How do we schedule to share with the internal team? Yes, at the beginning of after the generalities, we explained it already. We already have the links available for registration for the national and international business rounds. If you have any questions, we will leave Jacqueline's email here. Here on the chats, you have the links if you want to register. Once you register, if it's for the international round, remember that ProColombia is the one that validates the profile, and it directly approves or rejects the registration request. We approve registrations almost immediately, or the following day. If you are an exhibitor and this is your first registration, we will approve it without problems. You will receive an email with confirmation. And we just placed the email. It's comercial@fise.co. And Jacqueline Osa is receiving these inquiries. And depending on the specific case, we'll let you know if you're registered, if there was a second registration, or the status and scheduling request. I need to update the logo on the FISE website. How can I do it? So this is a company that's already completed the form. So write to us, comunicacionesfise@fise.co, which will be placed in the chat. If you contact one or two, who are the people authorized to make that request, you can tell us. Attach the new logo in PNG or JPG and tell us the company name with this net. I need you to update the logo and we will gladly do it internally. Here are two questions that I'm going to pass on to Carla. One, I think you already answered this. When does the setup begin, and can customers bring their own coffee machines? I think you answered that. Please refer to the exhibitor manual. Let me recommend this. Always look at the link of the manual. The exhibitor manual is already in version 3. So, through cache or through cookies, you only see version 2 or 1. Please clear your cache or cookies because you should see version 3. Please refer to the link because the manual is subject to minor changes or adjustments that we report. When these adjustments are made, you will be told to consult the exhibitor manual again. And I mentioned this because if you download it, you only use version 1, and it may have changes, as I said, minor ones, not fundamental ones, but always consult the link. Next, do you have any information in English? I have to share it with my marketing staff so they can understand everything. This meeting that we are seeing here, and this has been asked a lot, will remain on the YouTube channel for consultation. And in about a week and a half, 2 weeks, this same recording will be available in English. And we will let you know and send you the link so you can consult it and share it with your English-speaking staff. How many badges are we entitled to? For every 3 square meters you purchase for the fair, you can get 1 badge. However, as I mentioned, we also give you a little extra. We're not so strict about the number of badges given. And since you're going to enter to Eventi and see the number, let's say, I need more. I always give more. But if for some reason you say, I need much more, write to us to comunicaciones at fise.co and tell us how many you need, and we'll review it to increase the number of badges. Again, you're asking about the setup times. So again, because throughout this meeting, we've said it several times, your best friend right now is called the exhibitor's manual. The information is there. Somebody says, we registered as a supplier, but we got an error message. Please contact Jacqueline at comercial@fise.co if you have any problems registering as a supplier. Again, comercial@fise.co. Is there a visitor registration filter to enter the fair? No, there is no filter. The fair is free and open to the public. Do those attending the International Business Roundtable need to speak English? Julie? Hello. It depends. It depends on the appointment you have because normally the buyers who come to participate in the roundtable speak Spanish. But there are some buyers who come from countries where English is spoken. If you like, let's do this. If anyone has any doubts about the language spoken by a particular buyer, there are few buyers really who only speak English, but it could happen. So if you have any specific questions, you can contact us. We will check directly with the ProColombia office in that country. And what we can do is to make recommendations and check or consult directly with the buyer. It's not usual, but it could happen that a buyer who only speaks English comes. In addition, the registration form asks about the language spoken. So when you enter the virtual stage to request appointments and look at the buyer, you can see there if the person only speaks English or English and Spanish as well. I'll compliment there. They're asking again about the link for the appointments. Let's say that the first step in the business roundtable is to register as a supplier, which is approved, and then you receive the email with the link to schedule when your registration is approved. Does the app work without data? As I mentioned, the initial QR code works without data. When the information needs to be uploaded to the cloud, you need to connect to the internet or data. I forgot to mention that we have a team at the fair from the setup to each of your stands who's asking each one of you if you already registered your users to test data capture. And we will also provide you a line so you can be constantly telling us what's happening with the app. I ask you, don't keep any issues you have with the app to yourselves. Do not say it didn't work. Contact us at the number we'll give you because at the fair we have a team dedicated to assist you with the mobile application. We have been working since the fair ended, listening to your recommendations because in 2023 we had some issues that we detected in a timely manner, and we've been working to correct these errors. We are even conducting tests, stressing the application. If I have many people capturing data, what happens? Because we have to ensure that this tool works for you. But again, don't stay silent if you have a problem. Contact us. If you've forgotten Juliana's number, somebody from FISE will contact her. And during the 3 days of the fair, we will be solving your problem so you can get the most out of this mobile application. How can we invite a foreign company that we've been talking to? I think this is as a buyer. Juliana? Yes, look, in the reservation form that most of you have already filled out, we asked about potential customers, and we'll look at that to invite for both the National and International Business Roundtable. If there's a potential buyer you want to invite who you didn't include in that form, you can write to Jacqueline at comercial@fise.co and share the company's information. If you have the contact information, tell us the name of the company and we'll check with ProColombia how to contact them. Okay, here we have 3 questions for Carla. Are the cables valuable? Second, if we use copyright-free music in the videos, is that okay? Can we use copyright-free music with free commercial rights or music created with AI? What was the first question? The cables. Well, each cable has its own assembly provider that transports and installs them. What we ask them to do is to make a deposit for each anchor or each cable, which specifies the process and cost in the exhibitor's manual, which is not really a cost. When the supplier dismantles these cables after the event, they are returned. So as for the cables, it really depends. It's a value for each point. Right now, I don't know the exact value, but you can see it in the manual. And again, it's returned to the account you indicate to us when you fill out the form with the information about the anchor points. Once we validate that you indeed hang it and that the project is safe and feasible. But in the manual, we explain that process quite well and how it's done. Second question, Anna. The music, whether it's copyright-free or available. No, we do not authorize it because we have no way of validating that. And it's difficult to manage with Psycho and Asimpro that no stand has music. Because, as I explained, we do not pay royalties for the use of music or copyright or for the performance of recorded music. And most of the music is represented by Asimpro. And if you play music, and the Asimpro can prove to us, because they have a monitoring system whereby if they hear music and we tell them that that music is not copyrighted, then they will take a sample of it and they can prove that it is copyrighted. They will fine us, and fines are in the millions of pesos. Because since the fair is so large, then it's based on capacity. For every 500 people they charge, and the costs are significant. So to avoid with Psycho and Asimpro, we do not allow any exhibitor to have music at their stand, because if we allowed one, we would have to allow all 400. And it's impossible for us to monitor and then deal with Psycho and Cipro over a lot of problems and discussions about the rights to each piece of music played. So think about your strategy as always, because that's a policy we've had for a long time. But Psycho and Asimpro are becoming stricter, and we're trying to be more judicious. Think about videos with people talking, images. You can use lyrics, or tags, but do not have music. So we won't have any problems with Psycho and Asimpro when they visit us, because they do send people, and it is a problem. I'm going to try to summarize some questions because they are repeated, although this time says, the warehouse as of November 7 is only for items brought from the free trade zone? No. Pavilions have their warehouse at the service of exhibitors. Hello. No. All the pavilions have their warehouse at the service of exhibitors as of the 7th, when we begin setup. Not all of you have assembly starting on the 7th. Assembly is staggered. In fact, on the 7th, only white pavilion enters, on the 8th, yellow and green pavilions, and on the 9th, blue and red. It's staggered because the idea is to avoid bottlenecks at the entrance of the venue. So all of the pavilions have their own warehouse starting on the 7th. If something arrives at the real pavilion and you're there, your stand is in this pavilion, the item can arrive and we already have a warehouse to receive it. The truth is, as I was saying, whoever brings the item takes it to the warehouse, because we have no way of moving those loads, but there is a warehouse available for any item. What arrives in the free trade zone is what arrives specifically from abroad, but you can all have your things delivered on the 7th onwards. Normally, when it comes to stand assembly items, these do not arrive on their own, but the assembly company brings its own truck with the items. Usually what arrives on its own is merchandising or other items similar, like boxes arriving there, and they're stored in the warehouse. And it's available and free for exhibitors, but only after the 7th. If it's before, you have to coordinate with Plaza Mayor, and they will provide you a storage service, and you're charged according to the size of the boxes you're going to send them before the 7th. Here just to reinforce, Carla. For example, if we have a bar, do we have to buy the drinks there? And somebody else asks. In my case, I have a coffee station inside the stand. Yes, I know there's a fine line with the venue, and even though it's not the strictest venues we've seen in Colombia in this regard, it's still strict. So you can't bring in prepared drinks. They're cocktails or flavored drinks or snacks. You have to hire them from Plaza Mayor. They enforce this as mainly for health reasons, because in fact it happened in an event in Plaza, and I'm sure it's happened in venues. I don't remember which event it was, but there are people that ate something and got sick. I don't know if you remember this several years ago. And when people got sick, it's the venue's responsibility. So the venue the venue has to respond to a certain extent, and obviously that's true, but then they clearly, for health reasons, say they reserve the right not to allow outside foods and drinks. The easiest thing is to hire everything with Plaza Mayor. They make some exceptions, especially if the items are sealed. For those sealed items, for example, bottles of wine, they charge a fee like 20% on top of their price list. So it can be a bit expensive, but it's the rule and they have the right to do so. When it comes to unopened bottles of wine or beer We have to request it and go through the process of saying, I'm going to bring in 1,000 unopened beers. And they will say each beer is worth 10,000 pesos, so you pay me 2,000 for each beer. And you must pay that before entering. This is for sealed items. That's why I think it's better to make it all through them than going through all the hassle. What exceptions do they make? Again, let me repeat them. But I ask you, if you're going to bring in something other than branded water bottles, say your brand name on the label and they're sealed, if it's something different like popcorns, lollipops, or chocolate bars, please let us know, because if it's candy or chocolate bars, it's no problem. It's sealed, it's small, and it's processed, and it's like merchandising. The next level up is lollipops or popcorn. We have been allowed to bring them in, but I ask that if you're going to bring in lollipops or popcorn, please let us know so we can notify the venue of the quantity, the presentation. How are you going to bring it in? If you're going to bring a machine, the lollipop says my brand name and sealed, so we can validate and have problems at the entrance. Because strictly speaking, the venue at the door can say, today the rules say that no food or drinks can be brought into the venue. And so, what about coffee? If I call the venue manager, she will say, Carla, that coffee has to be purchased here. It's a prepared beverage, it's not packed. What exceptions have they made in the past? When it's a vending machine, sometimes they've allowed us to use them, explaining that they cannot provide this type of machine. That what they can provide is a station that's different from an auto machine where you just press a button and the coffee comes out, and it's very, very easy to use. If anyone wants to bring in something like an automatic coffee machine, please send me an email with a picture of that machine and as much information you can, and we'll check to see if we can get a permission. Strictly speaking, I would have to tell you coffee cannot be brought in, but it's possible that if we ask the venue, will be kind and allow us to do so with some consideration, especially regarding coffee, popsicles, and popcorn. If you have something similar to that, write to me at logistica@fise.co, and I will escalate it to see what the venue's administration says today. Okay, I have 3 questions for Juliana. One, can the person who registers for the National Business Roundtable or FISE Roundtable be the same person who registers for the International Roundtable? Yes, but when you register for the second one, you have to enter a different email address. It can be a personal email because both rounds are hosted on the same platform that only allows one-time identification with an email address. What happens then? We have to be very careful because if it's the same person who's going to schedule the appointments for the national and international rounds, they must be very aware that if there is someone from foreign trade or an advisor who can attend the appointments in the international round and another in the national round, there's no problem. If it's only one salesperson who's going to attend both business rounds, that person must be very careful and not cross the schedules, because there is one day, I think it's day 2, when both business rounds overlap. So please keep that in mind so that we can avoid any breaches of contracts with buyers in either of the 2 rounds. When is the deadline for Colombia's approval to participate in the international round? ProColombia takes about 3 days to validate the profile. That's the estimated time it takes to review each of the companies that sign up and register. If I have already registered for the National Business Roundtable, how do I know if I've been accepted? And how can I start scheduling appointments? You should have received an email with access instructions. Otherwise, please write to comercial@fise.co to Jacqueline with your company's tax ID number and tell her which round you registered for, and she can send you the instructions to access. Carla, do you have forklift services? And we're also asked if they need to move something from the stand, can they use a forklift? We provide a forklift and an operator for exhibitors. So on a first come, first served basis, the logistics staff can provide them, right? It's a 3-ton electric forklift. And what else can they do? Normally, the supplier is there and has a couple more forklifts available for those who are in a hurry or busy that day. They can hire them directly if you can't wait for ours. Or if you have something huge that requires something else, larger with a higher capacity, then you can take it directly, hire it, and arrive at the venue when you need it and hire it additionally. So let me take this opportunity to remind you to check the manual, the weight and size restrictions of items that will be brought into the pavilions, because the green and blue pavilions, since they're on the second level, not on ground level, but on the second floor, have certain restrictions. For instance, if you're going to go up the ramp that enters the green pavilion, items for the green or blue pavilions, those have to go through a maximum dimensions because otherwise the ramp can't handle them, and a maximum weight. So, for instance, the electric forklifts can't go up that ramp. They have to go up with the manual system because the forklift really weighs too much up to go up there. And there's a winch, which a freight elevator that has a certain size. So if something is larger than that, it won't fit there either. There's a window in the blue pavilion through which you can go like with a crane or kind of a hoist that we have to, if they have something huge, they have to live through that window because it won't fit through the ramp or the hoist, and it goes to the green or blue pavilion. So read the manual if you have a special case and write to us, and we will look in detail to see how we can handle it. Okay, let's wrap up here. We will also send you the emails for all the areas. So if you have any questions, we understand there's a lot of information, and maybe we haven't been able to answer all of your questions in this shipment, but we will provide you with the email so you can contact us. Can additional exhibitor badges be purchased? We don't sell badges. They are free. So you have a number, as I said, and for strategic reasons or to rotate staff, you say, Ana, you gave us 10 badges, and we were entitled to 6. You gave us 10, but I really need 12 for this and this and that. Write to us at comunicaciones@FISE, and we will have to review your request and increase the number. But there is no cost for this. It's not for sale. Carla, to bring in the merchandise for the setup, do you have to send in a form? Not to send. What you need, well, there are two important things here. For the merchandise, if you create an online platform, Plaza Mayora will write to you to send you the access credentials for that platform so you can fill in everything you're going to bring in. There is another document that you must bring printed, which is Annex 1 or 2, where you list the personnel that will be entering, the people who will enter to work in the assembly. This is presented at the entrance along with the ARL documentation. And if the work requires hides, they must bring their certification. But you really don't have to bring anything rented when you list the items. It's online on the platform that Plaza Mayor is handling now. Okay, Juliana, where can I see buyers and companies that will be at the National Business Roundtable and see if it's worthwhile for my company to participate? If you're already registered for the National Business Roundtable, you can see which buyers will be participating in this year's roundtable. There you can see the companies and their profiles. If you're registered for the international event, you can see it as of October 1st. when appointment scheduling begins. Everyone has access to all the information about available buyers through the platform. Okay, Carla. If we need to put differentials on the ceiling of the white pavilion for the ceiling support points, do you provide a crane or scissor lift service for working at heights, or is there a cost? You must bring the company crane or lift or personnel you need to do that type of installation on the ceiling. Perfect. Next. Who can I contact to change my email address and the exhibitor information? It won't let me retrieve it. Once you have completed the reservation form, you cannot change any of the information on the form. So please write to us at comunicacionesfise@fise.co, and one of the people listed as contact, or one or two, should write to us requesting the change. Give the name, last name, position, email, and cell phone. The fair provides free invitations for customers per exhibitor. We provide a digital information with a code for each of the exhibitor. As I said before, the two companies that invite the most customers and who actually these attend the fair as visitors will be rewarded with 15 million and 13 million pesos, first and second place, in the next fair for the purchase of a stand. So we are going to send you an invitation so you can show it to your database and encourage them to participate in this call. And I would say in 2 weeks we will be sending you that so you can start booking tickets. Carla, taking advantage of the ceilings, remember that ceiling installations must be approved directly by the venue. The infrastructure director has asked us to send him that information. So if you're going to install something on the white, although the sponsors of the white pavilion are not paying us for their status as sponsors, they must request authorization, because there are things that are too heavy for that ceiling to support, and Plaza does not authorize. The site is a mess if that preliminary paperwork isn't done. So please remember, you're going to hang things from the ceiling. Send us the information so we can arrange that for authorization from the venue. Next, if I'm going to have a model at the booth, does this person have to register some way or just enter normally? They must register with a link that's smaller, which we can also share with anyone who requires this type of registration. And they will be given a wristband, so it is feasible. For the technical call, can we add other people from other companies to the stage to present their success stories? When you submit your registration request, there is a space for the name of the conference, the name of the talk, and the summary of the talk. Those fields have a limit. If the question is, can you enter the information if it fits within the limit of characters, you can do it. And if what you want is for the person, not just the company, to invite someone else, Carla, I suppose that's possible. She can help us. Remember, what we provide you is a room. That is a room for you to hold the conference. Whoever the speaker is, whatever company they're from, if it's a partner, if it's a company or a sister company that you want to invite to speak there, you decide on the content of the conferences. And let's say the theme, obviously, provided that's in line with the objective and the theme of the fair. It's really up to you, and you're free to manage it. Okay, Juliana, to wrap up. I didn't understand the part when you mentioned the ticket budget or the budget that it's provided for its allocation. Again, for the International Business Roundtable, ProColombia, because this year we also have the support of the mayor's office, so there's a resource. But ProColombia analyzes each buyer and offers either 50% of the ticket price or the full ticket price, right? Once the buyer is accepted, ProColombia reviews the profile. interest of the offer, how much of the importer there is. So it's really a company that has significant interest in the Colombian power sector. Then they review, validate, and they're the ones who make the offer to the buyer directly. We have no say in the matter of ProColombia's label delivery. I know that most of the buyers who have been accepted have been granted 100%, but there is a limited budget that is allocated to each office. In other words, ProColombia has offices in several Latin American countries and allocates a budget to each office. So they say, for instance, Peru has a budget of 20 million for labels. Ecuador has 13. So internally, they make an allocation, and as buyers from each country arrive, the value of the budget is deducted by ProColombia directly. In the business roundtable organized by FISE directly with national buyers, there are also limited quotas. Not all buyers are given labels. When we invite them, we ask them if they want to make use of them or if they need support in purchasing labels. They register, and we from the organization also validate their profiles and select who we give labels to and who we don't. That's how it works in both roundtables. Okay, we may have missed a few more questions in the chat, but we could stay here for hours because there are many questions. Let's close here the chat, and we'll place all the emails where you can contact us and FISA's cell phone number, which we have on the website. So please place it on the chat, and we can respond to your questions by email or chat in a personalized way. You will understand that we have been in this meeting for 2 hours, and we cannot answer each of your questions, but we have just posted the email addresses, the sales, communications, and logistics addresses. There are 2 for communications, so you can send your questions individually. As I was saying, we will share the 3 presentations we gave in this meeting with you as reference material. So you can sit down and look at them at your leisure. And as I was saying, share them with your service personnel and the assembly personnel. So that's all for now. We're placing the WhatsApp numbers, emails, and any other information you may need. We will be available for you, and thank you for joining us. And we will see you on November 11th to 13th, which is going to be great. Thank you all so much for being with us. Have a great day.